talk about metallurgy, and we'll start with a quick introduction. Let's start with writing here. Okay, so first of all, we can classify the engineering materials. We can classify them mainly to three classes. We can say we have metals and non-metals, and the third category is composite materials. For the metals, we can classify them further to two major groups based on the type. We can say there is ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals. So the ferrous is like we can conclude from the name, they are iron based, so we can classify them further to iron and steel and cast iron. The difference between these three categories is the percentage of the carbon. So in the iron, the percentage of the carbon is less than 0.03% carbon. This will be iron. If the carbon is higher a little bit, specifically between 0.1% to 2% carbon, this will be steel. And we have many types of steel depending on the application and the properties we need. And then we have the cast iron. The percentage of the carbon is more than 2%. It will be brittle. As we know, the cast iron is widely used in many applications, but it's a little bit brittle. The percentage of the carbon is more than 2%. Usually it's between, in most applications, it's between 2.5 and 3.5%. But in many applications, we also can find the carbon reach up to 4.3%. So this is for the ferrous metals. For the non-ferrous metals, we can divide them based on their density. So we can say there is low density metals and high density metals, and they are both non-ferrous. And as we know, the density is mass divided by volume. So that means, for example, if you have 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch block of steel, it will be heavier than the same volume if it's aluminum. So for the same volume, you'll find the steel is heavier, right? So we say the steel is more dense, has higher density than the aluminum. So the non-ferrous metals can also classified according to the same thing, saying we have low density ones or light metals such as the aluminum, such as the magnesium. For the high density things like the copper, things like the lead, these would be high density non-ferrous metals. Okay, so that's the very first thing when we talk about the, let me make a different color here, the metals. Now if you want to talk about the non-metals, which is this category, let me go down the page a little bit so you can have some more space. Okay, so for the non-metals, we can classify them to 3 major categories. We can say we have natural non-metals. We can have something called polymers. That's another example, another classification of the non-metals. And ceramics. For the natural non-metals, we have many examples like wood, like leather. These are famous examples of natural non-metals. If you want to talk about the polymers can be classified to elastometers and thermosets and thermoplastics. So the difference between these two guys, the thermosets and the thermoplastics, is when you subject the thermoplastics to high temperature, they tend to get soft. But the thermosets, they don't get soft when they are subject to the temperature, high temperature. But they can burn, like you can burn them, but they still will not get soft. So another classification also for the thermoplastic, we can classify them more to amorphous and crystalline. If we want to talk about the thermoplastics, they also has many components we can put, like the epoxy, example the epoxy. Okay, so that's mainly the main categorization for the materials. If we talk again about metals, non-metals, and the composite, and for the non-metals we talked about a ceramic and polymers and natural non-metals. So these are the main classifications, and we'll talk more about more details in the coming meetings. Thank you so much for watching, and please, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. Bye.